Hi, and welcome to this new episode. Uh, this is the shortest I have forced any guest to get into the podcast. So, thank you for adjusting to that. And I've been waiting for, I think, couple of weeks to make this happen. And both of us have been trying in the last 3, 4 days, so quite a bit. Now the time is right, and we are both here. Welcome to the podcast, Palni or Polly, as I
Thank,
like to call you.
thank, thank
Can
you.
you can you give us a little bit of background for the guests, for
Okay,
the audience? Yeah.
sure. So, being a South Indian, born and brought up in Mumbai, rather
Okay.
Thane. So, come from an humble beginning,
Okay.
middle class, typical lower middle class family. With dad used to work with the Central Railways, mom being an housewife. We are a sibling of 5 members. I
Uh,
being the youngest.
uh,
Uh, Roots are still in the Chalm, where I used to stay in my
yeah.
old sweet home, and that's how I came to know in Bunty, because being staying in a chawl, we never had the liberty of studying, in a big place. So we used to come to the library, where I think around almost somewhere in the year 93, 94 is what I would have met Bunty at that point of time. Of course, Bunty had the liberty, but then he used to come to library for a different purpose. But anyway, and that's how the beginnings became. uh, Library shaped me into becoming an company secretary. Fellow members saw the talent in me, that I could write good essays. By just giving 2 lines, I could really complete a good essay. So they said, why don't you become an company secretary? And that's how the journey began, and then of course into the corporate world. And right now, currently at the age of 47 running, retired 3 years back, enjoying my bliss. Traveling is the new passion. Trekking has been the new wife for me. So
Okay.
yes, truly, and you could say that off late I just come back home to wash my clothes, get repacked, and then vanish again into the Himalayas.
Okay.
That's it.
And that's quite a story that I don't think I have looked at your life from that angle, although I know almost all the details like that. So, without much ado about our professional and personal lives as of right now, just a bit of glimpse into the mindset. Just half a minute back, I was thinking what should be the first question because it is as sudden for you as it is for me. So, one of the things that I have noticed about you since I have known you for now, I think 2 decades, you have never been lacking in confidence. And I have seen you move from your humble backgrounds to starting to fend for yourself and your family, and then do well for yourself. And I could say do better than a lot of people that I have seen. But at no point did your outward circumstance seem to affect your confidence in any manner. Of course, you were concerned when things were not going well for a while, every now and then, but you always looked at it from a problem solution approach. Till today, I I gave the credit to your legal understanding and looking at things from that perspective. But it's only now that I'm thinking, what gave you the confidence when you came from a background which wasn't really, which isn't seen as ideal in terms of backing. So if you had no backing, what made you confident? What is it that gave you this sense of self acceptance?
To put it in short, actually, uh, the reason, you could say what I am today is, or rather, the kind of confidence which I had was the earlier days. I would put it back then, because we have seen those days when we used to struggle a lot. In fact, going things to the extent like having an Camlin pencil box used to be a luxury for us. I mean, even to ask for a Camlin box was like, we used to think twice. I
Hmm.
mean, would this month's budget allow us to buy this? Because you can understand, right, with five siblings around and with a
Yeah.
very humble job, how things would have been. So this was the things which had always been at the back of the mind. So when I started my uh, career or my studies journey, this thing used to always ebb somewhere in the back of my mind that look, uh, I can't be like this forever. Fine enough, parents gave me the best of the what they could do in terms of they never kind of hesitated in my studies. Like whatever I choose was always there. Whatever support they could give me was always there. So this the thing which was there at the back of the mind was always this: look, you need to excel in life, and when you want to excel in life, uh, it has to be, you can't be an introvert. Somewhere you have to become an extrovert out there.
Okay.
So life at a very early stage just started showing signs of like solo traveling in train. Like for example, my school used to be in Mulund, and we used to stay in Thane. So I remember somewhere right from the fourth standard or fifth standard onwards, I used to travel on my way all the way back from Thane to Mulund, catching a train, and of course, with some um, friend circle here and there, they used to join in the station. But the kind of thing, when I don't think many people or many children today would have this privilege of traveling on their own. So think small things like this kind of always give me the confidence to do things boldly. And as I ventured out deep into my profession, this is what kind of give me the kick, you could say. Face whatever comes with boldly, and and every problem has a solution. So do look for the nooks and corners for it. For example, when it's to um, go to our studies in the library, every student used to look at the problem what it is to. So the best thing is, I used to see what is the best way to come out of this, rather than digging deep into the problem. The best problem, how do you really come out of this? Is there a shortcut to it? And believe me, if you really look deep into it, it life throws you some kind of an shortcut or a way out. And that's how boosted my confidence, and that's what kind of created the self-confidence in me to excel in life.
Wonderful. I want to specifically ask you one question, which is very pointed. Uh, does the fact that you cannot get worse than what you had already seen become a very strong point in your confidence?
I didn't get you actually correctly on this.
Say you came from a lower middle class family with which was fairly large. You were the youngest, like you said. So also your experiences were filtered down in what you were kind of told or whatever you were given in terms of even freedom was more like you are the last in the line in terms of being able to express your wants. So now once you've grown through that, where you've learned to fend for yourself in a fairly fearless manner, whatever the circumstance. So because of what you've already seen, did that always stay at the back of your mind? Uh, like what would happen at most? Wherever I went, anything that would happen, my fallback option is that I've already seen that life. Nothing can get worse than that.
True, that's true. Actually, see, beyond a point, I mean, at best, at below zero, at best, you can go into the negatives, right?
Hmm.
So this thing is always used to be there. Okay, yaar, chalo, try to karte hain. Like, why not give it a shot? Types, as you rightly said. What will at worst, what will happen? Worst is, okay, you may not pass off in this particular exam, but there is always a second chance. There is always a third chance, and you know life always gives you this ability to excel well, even if it doesn't throw the opportunity at that point of time. So I strongly believe that there is a saying which says that opportunity comes once in a time, but then there is always a chance that it might come twice, thrice, but then you can always pick it up at some point of time. But yes, at worst, what will happen? You can always bounce back.
Yeah. Uh, Another thing that I've noticed about uh, your mental shift in recent times, to give the guests to the audience a background, he's retired a little earlier than most people do. and I've seen him chill and not worry about expenses. Don't come down, they always seem to go up as we go along. So he's managed to find a middle ground in terms of expenditure, taking care of his family, also getting out of the rat race at a time when most people think this is the time to become a manager, have five people under me, and run the rat race as my wishes. What made you confident that you would not miss this thrill or adrenaline rush of corporate life at a time when I saw you were almost at the second rung, if I can really understand. So there was only one rung ahead of you where you would have topped your profession in some good company. What gave you the confidence to get off the like gravy train, as they call it?
True. In fact, this you could say this kind of an early retirement thought came quite early in my life when I started my corporate journey. Like having worked with the best of the MNCs, having burned a lot of midnight oil for them, and at the same time, as I said that I have seen my dad very closely to that angle. Like as I said, he never had this opportunity of maybe retire early kind of thing because imagine five mouths to be fed, and plus on top of it, village folks. So it was always a kind of, I'm sure he might have dreamt of that, but then it was always difficult for him. So keeping that note in mind, I always had this, you could say kind of a dream that come what it may be, boss. At best, I should only slog for at the age of 40, 45 max, and then, leave this aside. Now, in order to do this, uh, there are a lot of ifs and buts which used to always go in my mind right from my start of the career days. So, would the savings would be enough for my older days? How would my kids survive? What would my parental pressures would be at that point of time? How would my siblings react to it? How would my kids react to all this kind of an issue? But honestly, I never gave a damn kind of an importance to what will happen next. So my always believed is live the current moment. That's what I always stress even now. So what happens next? Yes, of course, some amount of planning is important. I don't say that you just decide one day that you have to retire. You retire. Some amount of planning is important, but at the same time, too much of planning is also kind of kills the whole motive. So just go with the flow. And like I always been the kind of a guy who has always been with the flow. Okay, I mean today for dinner there is some item of paneer. Enjoy it. I mean don't bother about कि कल मुझे पनीर मिलेगा. आज मिल गया बहुत बड़ी बात. Okay, what happens next tomorrow कल देखा जाएगा. Once you wake up. So this kind of an attitude was always there right from the start of my career, and I strongly believe this is what helped me to take this kind of a decision. Not too much of worry about what will happen in my olden days. What will you do once you quit your job? घर पे, how are you going to spend your time? Or how would the society take you along? I mean, for example, it becomes. I did realize this when I quit the job. People think that you're jobless, but I don't want to justify the world saying that hey, look, kind of, I'm more happy to do this. I just enjoy the way I am. That's it.
Okay. Interestingly, you ended where my next question was going, because um, we are social animals. We cannot deny the fact that we are not solo travelers on this journey, and we haven't picked up the robes of either sadhus or some such people who actually renounce the lay life. We have to walk with considerations for our family, our friends, other well wishers. My question is again a little more pointed than this generic question of how did you deal with what people were saying. That is, I think anybody who knows what he or she wants, most of the time you don't have to bother about those questions. But specifically, uh, there is this whole aspect of uh, purpose that one finds is a big deal in today's generation specifically. They want to be managers, or they want to have a good job, they want a good lifestyle. So many aspects to that lifestyle: a good car, a good house, good things in life. You've had some of it, and you've also learned to stop at a certain point. Uh, how have you dealt with uh, the lack of going further? And I call it the lack because not only your point of view, your family's point of view at some point. Uh, if I remember correctly, your wife was working for the longest time till last year or till a couple of months back. Your kids were growing up, your parents were old, so your needs weren't getting lesser. And I never saw that you were easygoing about providing for them in terms of material things. But it never was flamboyant. Everything was good quality, but at a certain range of budget, if you want to call it that. There was nothing show off about you. Having seen the good life in your work life, you work with the best of MNCs. We sometimes, in fact, we used to meet for lunch, if you remember, when we were both working for uh, different companies at Narman Point. So we've seen the good life. It's not that we are unaware of uh, the advantage and the fun of living it up. Now, with this availability and your potential to get it, and your family realizing that you have the potential to get it, how did you make your peace with the fact that, how did you convince them, or what was it uh, as a mindset that all of you thought, no, this is the better thing?
True, it was quite an tough thing, especially convincing first, especially the parents. Then comes the wife and the kids, and comes your friend circle. So it's always that when you're at the peak of your career. So I always told them that life is all about a typical what we used to do in our business presentation is all about the PPT and charts. So the graph in a particular PPT will always take an northern journey. It always tends to go that way, but people tend always like that kind of a portion, but then they forget that it has to come down. I mean, to correlate Newton's law, whatever goes up has to come down, right?
Yeah.
So and in corporate life, what happens is you are at the peak when you are at the peak. Simple, period. I mean, there's no two things beyond it. You're at the best. Come what may be, and we being in the legal and corporate secretarial world, for us, what mattered was, how do you find the best solutions? How do you get out of this muck? And for us, the books was never that important thing. For us, was to how do you get out of the situation? Like, for example, when you're sitting in an board meeting, and suddenly, when the chairman is going to pop up a question for you, saying that, hey, look, you are the legal guy. Can you tell, can we produce a typical some kind of a material which is typically banned in normal way? Can the company manufacture that? I mean, the first reaction for any individual would be saying that no, sir, we can't do that. But our way of looking at it is as simple as it. Sir, yes, sir, why not? We can definitely. Why not? And today, technically, yes, even defense is part of the kind of it has been open. Defense sector has been open for the private sector too, and we are seeing big IPOs happening in that way. So everything is possible. The only thing is you need to know how to do and what to do. So especially what happens now, coming back to your question. So when you are at the peak of your career, you realize that you tend to lose the sheen in some way or the other. When you're sitting in a room of 10 people, all of a sudden you realize that something which used to strike you like this, now you have to go back and give the same answer to your subordinates or to your superior, saying that, let me come back, let me check and come back. So that is the, I think, I being in a corporate world, I strongly believe that that's a signal one should look out for. That means somewhere we have reached the full capacity, and now it is a journey which our brain is slowly going to take it down. So that was something which I realized well into the journey when I began into, and fairly at that point of time, I was, you could say, almost on the management cadre of the company. Uh, so that decision was made somewhere at that point of time. Ki yaar, ab kahin na kahin, we have to start planning to step down, and at the same time, the dream of retiring early started kind of matching together. Now the question comes is, how do you convince your folks at home? So my simple answer to them, even that day and even today, is what is that we are going to take back from this world? Nothing.
Oh,
What is that we are going to take back from the world? Nothing. What is that we require once we shed this body? Again, nothing. Even the 6 feet of land which we say that it's ours is not ours. That's something part of the municipalities, right? Where the body just gets done. So what technically is, uh, we are nothing but the physical form of ash. Right. So this kind of a spiritual, you could say that journey began to me almost somewhere in the year 2015, and that's when my fire to quit slowly in a way the corporate world, shun those corporate responsibilities, and probably yes, going forward, slowly also shun the materialistic world in some way or the other. But yes, I also understand being. I mean, in the Vedas, there used to be this 4 stages of a life. Currently, the Gresta ashram is still there. Vriddha ashram is yet to kick in, with of course white being. So that's the reason why the grayness is so faster. So I think before that kicks in, I think we should prepare ourselves for this kind of a journey. The only thing is, earlier people used to do it in a different way. Now, yes, it too tough for family to understand at this stage. But believe me, once uh, the kind of the decision is taken, they also start respecting this, and they also start imbibing this. And that's another beauty which at least I saw the experience in my case. So they realize that okay, what this guy is leading into. So it's not that I have shunned away my family responsibilities, or away from my parental duties, or away from my society, inclement duties of that aspect. But definitely, yes, somewhere we have to prepare for the larger journey of life, which is to, earlier in the earlier days, Grihastha ashram, say when you live into the Vriddhashram, typically they used to say it used to start at the age of 60, 65. But as we are advancing into the new age technology, I do believe that everything is so shortened now. So when you can get mangoes in the month of January, why not? Vriddhashram start early as at the age of 50. Why not? So that's how it was a bit tough convincing them. But yes, when I explained them a few concepts of this, initially they thought, yes, this guy has gone mad, or probably he is probably kind of inclined towards some kind of Baba, you could say. But now they realize what my journey story to them was at that point of time, and now they respect that. And best part is they have also started imbibing to a greater extent in their life. So that really gives me good happiness when I see them doing this.
this is wonderful as an answer. You covered aspects that are actually difficult to tackle. Uh, but I would want to stick to a material question because I want to probe further. Uh, See, there is, having said whatever you said, it's an ideal scenario, but there are bad days with every decision. And this decision is certainly one of the bigger ones. You cannot at any point of time say that you are not aware of, uh, that you might have the pangs of the adrenaline rush or learning or matching your wits with the other people who are good in the industry, who are the best in management. Uh, at the age that we are in, we got prime opportunities to check the limits of our talent. Those things are highs. They are not just one-off things. It's not necessarily about money and lifestyle. It's also the kick of knowing that whatever you worked for many years is now peaking, like you said, irrespective of the fact of the episode that you mentioned, which is very interesting for a person to be aware of something like that. Uh, but but what about the sense of, I'll actually use the term, it's been running in my head for a while now. A lot of people would think that you are a loser. And I want to clarify, it's not about what they would think. I'm using the term because it's loaded. And we would also feel that if one were to go through that experience for a like one off day, you're just sitting and you're thinking, at this point I would be sitting in an office and actually matching my wits with the best in the industry and doing better than them. There's a kick in that kind of thing, or maybe proving some people, look, I can uh, provide solutions that nobody thought of. How did you deal with that sense of loss yourself? Now, we covered the family ground, we covered what was your reason to do it, but I want to get into the mindset of, was there any time when you rued the decision for a day or a minute or a moment, and why was it? How did you come out of it?
To be honest, yes, at times this do comes out, especially when there is an you could say all of a sudden you realize that, hey, look, you need to pay for your insurance premium. Now, technically, throughout my life, the insurance premium is to get paid by the company. So when you start paying your own insurance premium, you realize that, oh my God, you could have continued this job for maybe another 10, 15 years. And then, this comfort could have been there. Similar, thoughts do come across, to be very honest. Or for example, when, it's time for to upgrade your car. So obviously, when you are working for a company, you have a lot of perks and facilities which you get. Now, when you go and look at the car, you really feel that, yeah, do you really need to upgrade the car? The question is not about that you can't afford to buy a car. That's not the question. The question is, now, is there a need to buy a car? So this kind of a challenges does come across now and then, believe me. But I think most of the times I get my answers from the circumstances and from the life itself at that point of time. Honestly, from day one, I never bothered, you know, what people think about
Which is
others.
okay.
For
That's
example,
why I
that's
said it's
never the
the
case.
term.
Correct, correct, correct. So internally, yes, this thought of, does come across. It's not that it doesn't. And I said I gave you the reasons why it comes across.
Yeah.
And if you when I really, sit down and ponder over these things, finally everything comes back to the materialistic world. I mean, why you require an insurance premium? Because you have to cut a check. Why do you require a car? Now that you have to again pay from your own pocket. Can you go on a foreign vacation? Yes, you can go on a foreign, but then you have to book a ticket with your own make my trip or some kind of. Earlier you used to have the advantage of doing it with a corporate booking, so whenever the flight gets cancelled, you don't have to bother about the cancellation. So now this kind of a trivial things, does comes pops up in between. But finally, the more it pops up, it makes me more stronger. That is indeed a very wise decision of doing this. And believe me, why I say this is, a lot of people would have realized this during this almost 2 years of pandemic now. Uh,
Yeah.
Believe me, I mean, I don't think anybody would have at least attended an, a kind of an wedding or an engagement during these 2 years. So there's no need of a sherwani, no need of a coat suit, no need of an shoe, the basic, imagine kind of, I mean, if you just take back yourself when we were dealing in our corporate life, we used to be so careful about the what we wear, right from the shoe, right from the what kind of purse we should have, what kind of tie we should wear.
Yeah.
But look what these 2 years have done to us. I mean, I don't think, I mean, except for a pair of couple pair of t-shirts and shorts, I mean, that's the best thing one can have. And this is exactly the thing what I have realized this when I took this decision of quitting the corporate life, and I started living the life that way. When I say that way is because, as I told, traveling and trekking has been kind of become a passion for me. So when we go trek across the Himalayas, and when we see that for a stretch of around 10, 12 days, when we really trek across, so what we carry is just 2 to 3 pairs of t-shirts. I mean, when we can survive at that kind of an altitude with that kind of an basic dressing and of course some uh, you know uh,
Warm
woolen
clothes.
coverings,
Yeah.
warm clothes. Never I wondered what is my neighbor going to tell me or my co-colleague, who's going to say, "यार तू क्या
True.
पहना है, तू बहुत बास आ रहा है यार तेरे पे." Nothing of that. And in fact, everybody is so happy because they have come here to see the nature. They have come here to enjoy the nature, right? So they are not bothered about, यार boss, you are not 2 दिन से स्नान नहीं किया, you're stinking a lot, or there are वही शर्ट 4 दिन से पहना हुआ है. So this kind of a thing, once I took this, you could say, corporate sannyas, life has already started teaching me those things. So really, when in city life, कभी लगता नहीं है मुझे ज्यादा कि कौन क्या बोलता है. In fact, today, I mean, I don't know whether you will put this on air, but even till today, I wash my car on my own in my society. I mean, there are neighbors who ask me, यार, come on, यार, तू क्यों खुद धोता है? I said, यार, जब बिल गेट्स को फर्क नहीं करता तो मुझे क्यों फर्क पड़ना? जो बिल गेट्स proudly washes his car. Elon Musk खुद धोता है अपना गाड़ी. When he can, why not I can? So the point
Um,
is, uh, I mean, if you live in, for in a society where you are going to be, bounded by thinkings of others, it will be very difficult for you to come out of the corner. You do what you feel best is right for you, and close the eyes. Yeah, baki automatically falls in place.
okay. A question that could have come prior to this, but while you were talking, one of the thoughts that was running in my head, uh, I we vibe very well and we think similarly on a lot of patterns of thought or lifestyle. So it's very easy for me to get what you're saying. But I want to get into a place where maybe it's not easy for someone to understand what you're talking about. So I want to get into what were the initial discussions with other friends who were still with the corporate world? I knew a couple of them, of your friends at that point of time. They were quite well off, uh, some doing even better than you at that point of time and brilliant in their careers. And COVID had not struck then. COVID is a different understanding by itself. It has forced us to relook at our lot of our prejudices actually.
True.
But prior to that, you had quit, I think, at least 6 to 8 months, or if not a little more than more like earlier than that. In
Right.
fact, 2 years, a year or so before that. So when you were talking to your friends who used to be your everyday colleagues, kind of thing, what were the questions that they asked, or what was their reaction to this uh, absolutely out of the box decision that you had taken? Uh, I have realized with my personal experience that whenever I have done something like that, not as big as yours, my conditions were forced upon me, luckily. So I was doing, living a work from home life for a very long time. But I have realized that even with the gray that I have, a lot of my friends initially were very, very scared. And I used to have all kinds of reactions, people taunting me or feeling very insecure about their own age because when they realized we were of the same age, I didn't bother clarifying that this was a bad dye thing. So at that point of time, they were like really worked up. Why don't you color it or why don't you do something? And because I'm comfortable. They just could not digest the fact, and I could sense fear. And in a lot of people, not necessarily people close to me, a lot of people not known to me also, when they found out that I was fairly young. Like this has been my look for almost, I think, 3, 4 years now. So
More
my
than that.
question, maybe more than that.
More
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah, because I've been very comfortable with this. Like you said, I didn't bother about whoever said whatever because this is me. Like I can't cheat myself. So my question to you, your decision was far more radical because you're actually letting go of opportunity. Like you said, opportunity number one, two, three. And here you have the opportunity and you're saying no, which is absolutely unbelievable for a lot of people. So
In
prior to
fact, true,
COVID,
right?
yeah,
I and now I understood where you are coming from.
yeah,
It's true to a great extent because, in fact, right from the day, for example, my immediate, boss in my office, In fact, he gave me a counseling of almost, you could say that, 2 hours on this subject. Before even he accepted my paper, he said, okay, let's think about it. Let's एक महीने के बाद बात करते हैं. 2 घंटा lecture देने के बाद. So I understood what he was trying to say. He was saying that, hey, look, you are at the peak. You are now getting into the cream now. Up क्यों? So of course I gave him all the explanation. But then once I came out of that meeting room, I was wondering why the hell he is so much bothered about me now. I mean, very honestly, I mean, we have been such a long, association, working for so much. I mean, now really, I was looking at the other way around. Is he fearing me because he's going to lose me? Well, at least I didn't have the fear that I'm going to lose him.
Yeah.
Maybe then I realized कि हाँ यार अपने में है लगता है शायद वो potential अभी भी, where people want us still in the grip. Believe me, Bunty, the first thing and foremost thing at that point of time was also, boss, तेरा demand solid है, okay? When you want to leave at your peak, simple. Paid होने के बाद कोई मतलब नहीं. Okay, now that's one of the point I just wanted to make here. Of course, with in general, office colleagues ho jao, friends ho jao, everybody had the same fear. And the first big question they used to ask, hey, look, you have 2 teenage girls at home, elderly parents at home. ठीक है, wife तेरा काम कर रहा है, but Bombay lifestyle एक जन से नहीं चलेगा types. Are you doing something wrong, or is it that something is wrong happened in the job? In fact, people also ask me those kind of questions. Something wrong in the office work, or some kind of an extramarital affair वगैरह तो नहीं है कि जिसकी वजह से you are taking this sabbatical kind of stuff.
Which was true in a way.
Is it? We need to figure out who is that.
No, I'm saying this lifestyle is more than a love. It's an absolute mesmerizing push and magnetic attraction.
Correct. So, this kind of fan issues did come across by various segments of the people across it. My own, brothers, sisters, they were in fact very against this decision. In fact, they are still against this decision because they said that for them, or in their eyes, it's like I have run away from my responsibilities. They still look at that way. They said, hey, look, as I said, that when I started the introduction, I said being a South Indian. So generally, a typical South thing is, अरे यार बच्ची का शादी तो होना चाहिए था. Then you could have thought of something kind of a decision. So this kind of an hiccups were there at that point of time, or is still there. Now, do you also? I think I'm saying that I generally don't care about what other people think. But as to be honest, it's not that it's like being a finance guy, being a legal guy. I have taken some tough call decisions with my investment too, which have really paid me well. Touch the stars, and touch through my earlier karmas maybe. Bit of a comfortable position, yes. Do you ask me if I'm in a luxurious position? No, I am not. But I have never been a luxurious guy. I'm very content with whatever I have. I always very thankful to what I have every day at my meal. Because when we really look at the other way aspect, even get a shelter or a food to as a blessing in the day. So I am always a self-contented man. Be happy with whatever you have, and beyond that, take life as it comes. That has been my mantra throughout my life till now.
Okay.
Or like the way I'm taking your questions right now. Take the questions as it comes.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm also taking the question as they come because I have no clue what I'm going to ask till the time you answer it. There is a interesting question now. So for now, you describe your journey. It's beautiful because It's the first time somebody gave such a detailed introduction, or at least one of the rare times. And then we are kind of getting into your mindset and how your history has affected your present uh, thinking is also kind of coming through. Now, if we come to the present state of mind, and how do you deal with see the I spoke about this a little earlier. Purpose. It's very good to say that stay in the moment and uh, take life as it comes. There are challenges, and there are really serious challenges. COVID itself was a challenge for you. If I remember, one of your parents was stuck in the village for a long time, and you were trying to your mother, I think, you were trying to fetch her back. You couldn't
Yeah,
go
correct.
there. She couldn't come out, and it was not an easy time for both of you all. Uh, I remember speaking to you. Uh, the beauty is that you were concerned, but you were not terrified of what was happening, and the situation wasn't easy at all for none of us, but for you more so because of the age gap, and your mom is quite old. Now, situations like these, when you very easily say, oh, take life as it comes, till the time it's okay. I'm saying dal roti is also a luxury, is something that most people don't realize. There
True.
can be days you've been on a trek. There are days when they'll make you walk for 7 hours and you will not even get a cup of chai. I've been there a couple of times, and I realize not as hardcore as yours, but there are times when you have to compromise on what you want because there's just no chance of
Correct.
getting what you want. Even if you have all the money in the world, you cannot be provided for in
You
that
cannot.
time and space. Now, similarly here, you've already taken a decision which is so volatile. You're saying your family also couldn't understand it. Some of them, the rest of uh, your friends also kind of questioned it. Your boss questioned it. Obviously, we again coming back to we are social beings. It's not that we are arrogant and so proud that we do not see the other point of view. We do see the other point of view. But coming into this space, now you are comfortable. Now there is thoda time nikal gaya hai. If you are not wise, at least the habit has taken over. Let's just put it this
Correct.
way. Maybe it's your wisdom is not working, but decision le liya hai, so you will justify yourself and you will stay in this lazy mode, if one were to call it. Whatever it is, you are comfortable and you're peaceful. Now the situation is not peaceful. What do you do then? How do you stay in the moment? How do you convince yourself to stay calm when you've already taken a big decision which might be against that small problem that cropped up?
In fact, honestly, Bunty, this phase of my life has, I would say, has taught me many things. I would say that way. Uh, First of all, probably you could say, it had kind of made me quite calm internally. I would say, put it that way. So what happens is, it's as simple as it. I can give an example here. It's like what happens when you throw a stone in still water. When you throw a stone in still water, at worst is what? It will create those ripples, right?
Yeah,
And then what? I mean,
it comes it comes back to its stillness.
that's it. So I think this aspect is what, you know, really has kind of, I mean, believe me, had you asked me this kind of a question around 5 years back, probably I would have given you a different answer altogether about. But my way of looking at life is, boss, come what may be, whatever might happen. That's the reason I always say, take life as it comes. Because they say that, for example, Sadhguru's famous line, this too shall pass. Right? I mean, this phase, this is not going to be there forever. This is going to die down. This is going to go off. This is going to fade off at some point or the other. Now, whether it might stay with you for an hour or a month or a year or whatever, but it's not that it is going to be with you permanently. So this kind of an, uh, feeling, or you could say thinking, helps you to stay calm even in the most trickiest or whatever word you want to use in that, in any of the eventualities. It really makes you think, okay, what next, what will happen. For example, to give the same example, when my mom got stuck way back in the pandemic in deep south, the initial thought was, oh, how she's going to spend her time, who is going to take care of. Then I said, by thinking all this, is this going to solve the problem? No, it's not. Then comes the next thought is, okay, what is that you can make her life a bit better? Then you really start upon the next plan A, plan B, plan C. Okay, this is what best you can do. And then you think about, okay, now how do really you go and retrieve her? Instead of really getting angry, why don't we really try to still ourselves and get a way out of this? And the best way is to always look at a problem. Don't look at the problem, but look at the solution. And I believe over a period of time, as the grayness sets in, I think this is what is becoming stronger and stronger day by day. And that's the reason why I gave you the example of what happens when you throw a stone in a still water. The ripples will be created. I'm not saying that the ripples will not be created, because we are all laymen, right? End of the day, we are all just laymen. But can you overcome the ripples? Yes, because the ripple is not going to stay there. Yes, if you see in an ocean, we do understand ocean mein waves aata rahega. But even in an ocean, if you see, there are good the the tide, the high tide and the low tide, which keeps on happening. So it's not that, I mean, the famous story of you know uh, look at the opportunity when you want to enter the sea and when you want to get out of the sea. So looking at simplest of things, I'm sure we will be able to keep ourselves calm and get the best out.
It was wonderful. I think what a wonderful chat this has been, and we've been friends for more than 2 decades now, but we've not had a conversation like this in detail, uh, where we are trying to understand how we look at uh, things from a very specific point of view. So, thank you for spending time and coming at such a short notice. I'm glad we had this talk today, and hopefully, a lot of people will take a lot of learnings from this talk pertaining to many people going through tough times in the last 2 years for various reasons. I can only hope that and pray that this becomes one small uh, stone that does not cause a ripple, but if it causes a ripple, it is a peaceful ripple and reminds them of the calmness within. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Bharti.
Yeah.
See you.
Bye.